Yo, what up? The women of the Arrowverse get honest about pushing for inclusion in the industry and in the fandom. Now, it doesn't take superpowers to change the world for the better. Sure, it doesn't hurt to have super speed or assassin level fighting skills or a sonic scream or a magical amulet to kick some ass, but that only happens on TV. When it comes to combating sexism and fighting for equality and inclusion off screen, the women of the CW's DC superhero shows, Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, all together dubbed the Arrowverse, are in a unique position to help cultivate these conversations, occupying a space both as women in Hollywood and playing comic book characters for a fandom infamous for sometimes toxic trolling. Now, knowing their position of power, the women of DCTV joined forces to create Authority, an online global collective looking to inspire a step forward for women everywhere because of how inclusive it truly is. On the official Authority website, the intersectional feminist movement declares that it's for cis women, trans women, genderqueer women, and non-binary people who are significantly female identified. End quote. To share and participate in conversations highlighting the issues we face both inside and outside of Hollywood. And I think that's great, man. I think it really is. You know, any safe space for people is a good space, in my opinion. All right, so Bustle spoke with a few of the Arrowverse women, including the Flash's Candice Patton, Arrow's Juliana Halkovy, and Legends of Tomorrow Katie Lotz, Talia Ash, and Macy Richards Sellers for a discussion about their experiences in Hollywood, what it's like to be women playing characters on comic book series, and how She Authority will help them and others fight for equality, inclusion, representation, and more on a global scale. So here's the first question by the interview. You all play roles that mean a lot to an entire audience, but it's especially impactful for young women to see their interests and passions portrayed on screen by strong role models. When was the first time you realized how important your character is to viewers in terms of representation? So Talia Ash, Zari Thomas on Legends of Tomorrow, she says this: I never saw myself represented on any television until I was an actor myself and encountering the reasons why or the limitations that exist in the media. When the closest thing you can identify with is Aladdin, that's a problem. That's been one of my most powerful things about playing this character. I've heard from so many young women reaching out to me saying thank you for representing a Muslim American character or Middle Eastern character, one that isn't a terrorist, because 5-10 years ago, that's all we were seeing, and that's actually, yeah, that's pretty damn spot on. And what I really worked on was that we're painting a character that's really nuanced. Her immigration status or religion is part of who she is, but not all of who she is. The representation is the next frontier. Now here comes Candice Patton, Iris West the Flash. The Flash has been around for many, many decades, and Iris has been there since day one as a white redheaded girl. I thought she was more like a brunette in the cartoon, I guess. But all right, anyway. Redheaded woman. For me to be cast was the groundbreaking for so many young women of color seeing themselves as ingenues. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Ingenues. There he goes. As ingenues. My experience in the business so far has been portraying a lot of best friends, sidekicks. I think that's where a lot of people of color find themselves. And my casting, for me, I know for so many girls watching, it was a nod to this idea that black women especially are beautiful and desirable. We also can be the love of interest, and we can also be desired by the superhero, the main character, which is something that we don't see very often. Very true indeed. Miss Diana Drake. Arrow, Juliana Halkovy. The importance of representation came to my awareness more when I booked this role because I am a different Black Canary than the way she's originally written. She's a blonde and I'm multiracial, so for a lot of girls that was a huge deal. Damn straight. Ash. Social media has also been this place where fans can reach out to us and can send me these really, really moving messages. Small little things, like having an episode where we just mentioned Ramadan. It's something where so many people reached out to me and were like, I've never seen this on television, which blew my mind. Miss Sarah Lance, Arrow and The Legends of Tomorrow. Miss Katie Lotz. Yeah, the fan base is super supportive. I saw it for the first time going to a Comic-Cons and meeting girls that were from the LGBT community and how important it was for them to have a character that was bisexual on television because they had never seen it before. They have a lot of family that they watched the show with and they hadn't told their parents about the sexuality. To be able to have Sarah Lance be on TV and them getting to meet an LGBTQ character that they like and they feel like, okay, this is an okay person. They helps and that helps them come out to their parents. It's really, really impactful for me to hear. Madison Richardson Sellers, Amaya Joy, Legends of Tomorrow. When I was in London at the London version of Comic Con, this young woman came up to me and burst into tears. She didn't even speak, but she handed me this letter that she'd written me. I gave her this big hug and she explained her story about how much she'd been ostracized by her family for her sexuality and that she'd been sent to a conversion camp. Basically, through watching this show, it helped her realize that it was okay and she didn't have to feel the shame she had felt her whole life over who she was. That just completely ripped my heart apart. And as you see, Ben quotes, we did a great job in casting a black woman as a love interest in the superhero show, but now let's give her a job. Okay, here's Patton again. Man, I just love hearing Candace Patton. I just love seeing her, man. She's great. And everyone else is too. I think it's great the diversity in the superhero genre that we've seen over the last 5 years, even. But it's one thing to just hire diverse talent. It's another thing to write for them and fully flesh those characters out. Because fans no longer want to see a checkered box. You then have to also write for them and develop and to develop them and make them fully well-rounded characters and they can identify with. Richard Sellers. You don't just want characters who are queer and all they talk about is being queer. You want characters who are queer, and that's only one facet of their identity. There's also powerful, happy, and human. They're also powerful, happy, and human. I think that's the next step, moving beyond just tolerance and moving towards acceptance and love. Absolutely. Absolutely. What has the fan response been to you, to your casting? How has that affected you? And I think Patton's been pretty vocal about this in the past before as well. It's been mixed. I think the people who were really excited about me being cast as Iris West have been excited since day one, and they're still excited, and they're still fighting to see more character development. But in the beginning, it was hard for a lot of people to imagine a black woman playing Barry Allen's future wife, and people were very vocal about it. Comic book fans are very passionate, and a lot of them had no problem speaking out about their dislike of my casting, and you still see it today. It's getting better as the years go by, but we still see the remnants of people embracing these actors playing these characters. Coffee. It was definitely mixed. You do have fans who want it by the book and are like, Black Canary is blonde, period. Maybe one person that I was aware of said that she also needs to be white. For the most part, the response was quite positive about changing up the character because why should she have to be one thing? It's fantasy and make believe. I think the essence of her is not a physical thing. If you capture what's inside of her and her ferocity and her strength, that's the part that's really important. Absolutely. I mean, I agree 100%. I'm not just saying this just to say it. I completely agree with it for real. Patton goes on. Patton goes on to say, I naturally have pretty thick skin. I think that helps. I also have a great support system around me, people that remind me of what's actually important. The internet is accessible for people who want to voice their frustrations and anger, and a lot of it, I realize, has nothing to do with me. And I can't take on other people's anger. A lot of it comes from me being genuinely sad for people who have embraced the internet as a place to bully people. Straight up. The comics world is often misunderstood to be a space for only men, especially by those within the fandom. What has your experience been like on your show and being an outspoken feminist in your personal life? Lots. I think a lot of men, like, if I post feminist stuff, a lot of men are feeling attacked right now. I highlighted for me the need to take the feminist movement in a way where we're trying to bring men on as allies, not just leaving them out. And if our goal is equality and trying to get on the same level, we need those male allies. Ash goes on to say, I think the feminist movement feels like it's a female movement, but we need men because the reality is, like in our industry and in any industry, men are still the ones running the show at the top for the most part. Lots. The gender roles are just as damaging for men as they are for women. And letting men voice their issues and be able to talk about those problems will only help the feminist movement if men are less restricted by trying to fit into this alpha male box. And I mean, hey, it definitely has. It's pretty shaky to get past that too. You know, and from my own personal experience, obviously I'm not like that anymore. But before, yeah, it was pretty tough. There are a lot of tough topics that are tackling that you are tackling on authority. all conversations that women need to have and should feel safe having. Was there ever a topic that you shied away from discussing at first? Garvey goes on to say, at first I was unsure of how to talk about body issues and the struggles that I've had with my own body. I've kind of shifted my perspective just seeing how open this community is and how supportive it is. Now it's probably one of my favorite things to share and talk about. I think it's a vulnerability that a lot of women do share, and it's important to be vocal and part of the power. And it is not hiding. It's not hiding it or being afraid to talk about it. Richard Sellers goes on to say, to me, it's less about shying away from topics and more about sharing the stage and making sure that everyone has a chance to share their voice. Issues that are very close to my heart are race and sexuality and gender. I think by making sure that people who are writing the articles are diverse, then we get a fair representation of each of those stories. All those topics have been to some degree in some way difficult for me to talk about. Katie and I, especially just in our friendship, her being a white woman and me being a black female, we have very different experiences in life. And so when we would talk about certain issues like race and body image and pay equality, it was difficult to have those conversations just between the two of us. That's what we want for She Authority. The conversations may be hard, but they have to be had. Lots goes on to say, race. That's a hard one to talk about. I asked Candace, how can white women do better for black women in feminism? Some of the stuff is hard because I almost feel attacked. And that's a harsh word for it, but I'm realizing all the ways in which I have been unaware of things. There's still so many issues that I didn't understand. Feminism has a long way to go in being more inclusive of all voices. We need to talk about things that are hard to talk about and try to focus more on the fix than on the blame. So hopefully when white women read it, they're inspired to do better and help and don't feel shut down. Ash goes on to say that the wonderful thing about authority is that, yes, there may be these issues that we either are ignorant about or we want to know more about or we just don't know how to talk about. Katie and I were having a conversation about the trans community a couple of days ago about learning more about that just because we don't know. It's like neither Katie nor I have a trans friend. Now we're all going to, hopefully on Supergirl, with transgender activist Nicole Maines joining as a TV's first trans superhero. Okay, so it's so important to get the voice of somebody who is representing either that sexuality or that community or that religion. And we're creating this open forum where the person who should be telling the story is telling the story. Exactly. A lot goes on to say we got to connect at Comic-Con with Maines, and she was so patient with me. I asked, "Is it okay for me to ask you some questions about things I don't understand?" And I apologize ahead of time if there are ignorant questions. She was so open about it. I think so many of us are afraid to ask questions because you don't want to offend or seem ignorant. But if you're genuine about it, it's really a way to connect and bring everyone together. Absolutely, because people ask me about my physical impairment all the time. For example, for those that don't know, I have spastic dual palsy, so it's kind of difficult for me to walk. I have to walk with a walker, and I don't stand up straight like everyone else does. And so a lot of people are always curious about whether why I'm walking in that or why I'm staying in a wheelchair. So it definitely does help. Since the launch of the Me Too movement, have you felt or seen changes on set within the industry or within the fandom? What does that look like? Ash responds saying, it does feel like the conversation is happening now in a great way. We unearthed a lot of really dark issues that have been going on in our industry for a long time. And my question is, how do we fix it? And how do we keep the momentum going forward? I would love to see more male allies coming forward, not just for support, but as change makers, as people who are very actively part of the solution and not just condemning behavior. Coffee, I have absolutely felt a shift since Me Too. On set, I feel protected in a way that I wasn't before because everybody has an awareness of this thing that was unspoken and now it's not. Our old Arrow showrunners, male Mark Guggenheim and female Wendy Miracle, were very feminist, very fair, and always carried the same energy that new showrunner Beth Schwartz carries. But there's just an empowerment to having a woman be in charge. Jokes are not made that might have been made. Butchers and Sellers. We still have so far to go, and this is literally just the tip of the iceberg. I hope that it's going to move things forward in a positive way, whereby safe spaces are more respected for women and minorities especially. We need more than a hashtag for people to explore their trauma. If that works, that's fantastic. But we need a safe space for everyone. Have you seen a change within storylines and how you approach your character post Me Too? Harvey? Not necessarily, because our superheroes already defy that. Not only are they equal, but they're strong, they're capable. Diana probably faced sexism or racism, but she's just rising above it. Patton. The Me Too movement and Time's Up movements have given me more confidence to go to the writers and producers and say, we need more agency for these characters. I love that Iris West is the love interest. I think we did a great job in casting a black woman as the love interest to the superhero. But now let's give her a job. It's important for the lead female character not to only have a job, but for that job to mean something to the overall story that we're telling each week so that we see her value on screen. That's so important for the young girls who watch the show to understand, to not only seek out a partner in life, but to have passion in life as well. Most definitely. Another really important conversation for women that to be having right now, in a way of empowering each other, is equal pay. Are women within the community having frank conversations about compensation? Richard Sellers. It's so sad because so much is going on and we still don't know that we don't know about. There's so much that is secret when pays are negotiated. You have no idea what your co-stars are making, and therefore it's really hard for anyone to monitor that it's equal. Inclusion writers are extremely powerful objects. This is the time for people who do not have the power in society to step and stand up for those who don't. It's so tough because you don't want to threaten your job and be labeled as difficult, which is the common thing for women who speak out. Here's one big quote right here. The more that we don't talk to each other, the more that we keep information away from each other, the harder it's going to be for our fight to get people paid. Harvey goes on to say, in the past, I have never have dared or asked. I wouldn't have questioned it. I'm more open about discussing it. I wanted to know and feeling like it is more an issue of fairness and right and wrong and morality. That's a good way that I've shifted my perspective. It doesn't need to be a big secret. Patton. We discovered that we as women have been conditioned to not talk about money with each other. And it's a scary conversation to have. We realize the more that we break down those fears and those barriers, the more movement we can make with pay equality. Even with our male counterparts, it's so important to have these conversations. The more that we don't talk to each other, the more that we keep information away from each other, the harder it's going to be for our fight to get equal pay. Would you want to see an all-female Arrowverse crossover event? Ash. Yes. Lots. Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to shut out men or be anti-men. Would that be fun? Hell, yes, that would be really fun. Ash. And I just did a video about this too, so this is the predecessor to the video I just did that's uploaded. So enjoy. No, but on our show, all of us separately have this have said to this, right? Let's have a girls episode, not just for the sake of having a girls' night, but just realizing that it's kind of rare actually to be in a scene where it's just women. What is that conversation between 5 superhero women when it's not about a man? That would be exciting to me. So yeah, let's freaking cross over it up. That's so hard to say. I don't know why. Carvey, Emily J. Richardson asked the new Arrow showrunner Beth to have more scenes together this year. I love working with the women. My favorite thing is to kick up with other women on our show. Lots. On our show, for the first time, we're outnumbering the men. There are more women that are series regulars than men. It's pretty cool. Richard Sellers. On Legends, when I first joined the show, there were 2 female regulars and 7 men. It was very clear that that was the power dynamic. Now this year there are 5 women and 4 men. Patton, these are the same things. These are the same talking points that I discussed in the video I just uploaded. For so long, our cast was just 2 women, myself and Daniel Pannenbaker. My question was always like, when are we going to get more women? We'd go through another season, we'd add another male, and then the next season we'd add another male. We're going into season 5, we just added 2 women of color, Jessica Parker Kennedy, and damn, she is beautiful, and Danielle Nicolette on our show as series regulars, bringing our number of female regulars on the show up to 4, which is amazing. I mean, if you have said that to my cartoon itself, there's no way I would believe you. We're doing scenes now with 3 black women in the room, plus Jesse L. Martin. Sometimes Keon Lyons, who plays Wally West. My brothers. There's just so many more people of color on the show, and it's just so much more reflective of the world that I live in every day, which makes me really excited for where we're heading in our next couple of seasons. That's right. Is there anything you wish you could change about the industry? Richard Shaw's goes on to say, the main thing for me is positive, diverse representation. It's so important that we accurately reflect our society. Ideally, everyone would be in diverse spaces in their real life, in school, at home, with family, walking down the streets, because exposure breeds tolerance and acceptance and understanding about other people and their differences. I just wish that studio heads would support diverse casts and storylines in all sense of the word. That being body shape, sexuality, gender, LGBTQ plus. Write those stories, cast those characters, so we don't just have white cis roles. Holding her tongue there. I like her. She's good. Carver goes on to say, one thing that has always bothered me, and I do understand where it comes from to a certain extent, there's this sort of pedestal that you're put on in the industry as a performer. I think the crew guys deserve that praise 100 times more than we do. It's important for actors specifically to come out and say, hey, we're not special, we're not all the same, and treat others that way. I don't think it's healthy to think that you're just because you're on screen, you deserve some praise. Absolutely. What do you love about this industry and the fandom, Patton? There's so much humor and fun involved in fandoms. Fans for me are just fun. They give me a sense of humor in my life, even on the most stressful days at work. On my set working 14 hours, I can log onto my Twitter and have a really fun, funny banter with my fans. Richard Schultz goes on to say, I see fans helping each other, creating incredible friendships through meeting online and at conventions. The fact that we create such a strong community through this shared love of telling stories is such a beautiful thing that it should be embraced and enhanced, and that's what She Authority is here to do. To accentuate, I'm sorry, hold on, accentuate that shared space and provide a platform for people to share their experiences. There you go. I said it. Sorry about that. Carvey, the authority movement has been the best part of my job, really. The movement and the fans and the way that they connect to people, that surprises me. And it makes the job much more important and meaningful. It's a group of like-minded women who know that there are kids and little girls who are watching us. So it's like, why in there on the show when you can help people? So, I think that's worth it, man. I think I really enjoyed, reading this article for you guys. But this is your boy, Share6, man. I love you guys. Make sure you guys hit this like button, hit the subscribe button for more content, hit that bell notification for more content so that way you guys are updated on it. If you have any requests on what you guys want me to talk about, as always, please let me know in the comment section below. They're always welcome. They always will be. Support your speaks, man. I love y'all. God bless.